So I've been getting a lot of video requests dealing about my Apocalypse deck. And I realized that for the last couple of videos that I've made, I've been really just dueling with my Apocalypse deck. I haven't really ever gone into the depths of this deck. And I realized this deck is what makes me unique compared to other Yu-Gi tubers. So, without wasting any time, this video is going to focus on the decks that I consider extremely easy for me to beat. Decks that when I see them, I almost guarantee a win, and with a sight, and when I sight against them, it's almost like target practice. And then I will follow this video up by making a video about the decks that I consider my best matchups, or decks that I think are the best for me to play against because they require a lot of skill for me to beat. And then I'm going to make my worst matchups last. So, without wasting any time, let's get straight into the video. Blackwings. I use Shura to represent Blackwings, but Blackwings overall are a deck that really struggles against my deck, and here's the reasons why. Blackwings need to kill a lot of monsters in order to get their effects off. When you're dueling against my deck, almost every time you summon a monster, every time you attack a monster, every time you try to do something, your monster's going to get destroyed. And basically, the purpose of my deck is to basically wear you out. I'm trying to wipe out all of your major resources so that I can finish you off with beat sticks in the late game. That's basically what my deck is supposed to do. I'm just weakening your resources with traps, smashing grounds, monster effects, and then I finish you off with Thunder Kings and DD Ladies and Bull Bladers that are still alive. That's basically how my strategy works. That's how my deck always wins. There's no way for me to basically OTK somebody, even though I've done it a few times. And because of that, when a Blackwing monster such as Shura, which is one of their favorite cards, tries to attack a Snowman Eater, Snowman Eater flips over and kills Shura. They just went -1. Not only that, but now they go into synchro monsters that are not necessarily that good against my deck. Blackwing cards, except for Icarus attack, they don't necessarily pop. They're a deck that really focuses on attacking, and that's one of the reasons why they lose so much against me, because they can't get over my cards without attacking, and every time they attack, their monsters get destroyed. That's one of the main reasons why Blackwings are doing so bad against me. I mean, there are times where I lose to Blackwings. My deck isn't perfect. There are times where a Blackwing deck drops a Dark Arm, pops my 3 cards, and goes for game. But most of the time, when they bring out their big beat sticks that can be destroyed by card effects and do not negate card effects, Blackwings are in a lot of trouble when they duel my deck. So moving on to probably the best deck out of all of these deck matchups that I can really say I can beat easily. Now, Elemental Heroes are a tier 1 deck, no doubt, for the masses. But against me, I have gone to my locals multiple times, and I've always, and when I mean always, I've always swept Elemental Heroes, because they're a big beater deck that doesn't expect a lot of defensive cards from my deck. So if they bring out the Shining, I have a million options to kill it. Not only that, but Elemental Heroes don't use that many trap cards. So if an Elemental Hero deck, uses Elemental Hero the Shining, I can use DD Warrior Lady, Blackluster Soldier, even though I never draw him, Chaos Sorcerer, Neo-Spacian Grand Mole. All of those cards combined with a bunch of traps like Compulse, Dimensional Prison, Warning, all of those cards basically kill heroes, because Elemental Hero decks do not, and I repeat, do not do well against decks that have a lot of effects that destroy or trap cards, because the thing is that Elemental Heroes need to keep their monsters alive, because they have a very, very low monster count. So once you kill a lot of Elemental Hero cards, there isn't much they can do. They're trying to wipe you out quickly, and when they do that, they're losing their own cards. So let me give you a quick scenario of something that stops heroes. Let's say an Elemental Hero goes into Blade Armor Ninja, and then they detach. They're expecting to run over my face-down monster. They attack a Snowman Eater. Snowman Eater kills the Blade Armor Ninja. Then the other monster, let's say it's an Alias, I drop an ID. So they lost Blade Armor Ninja, and now they have to deal with the 2200 beater that they can't deal with at the moment. The only card in Heroes that really somewhat is annoying to my deck is Gemini Spark with Alias, and that's basically it, and sometimes a Hero Blast. Other than that, all of their cards are completely useless against my deck because they focus on attacking, which is what I want you to do. My deck works when you attack me. People think I don't like it when you attack me. No, I love it when you attack me. That helps me get my strategy off. People who know how to beat my deck realize that you don't attack me if you want to win. You have to wait for the moment is right to sacrifice your monsters at the right time if you want to beat me. So moving on. Dark Worlds. Dark Worlds, Dark Worlds, Dark Worlds. I suck against Dark Worlds game 1 because their deck is very weird. There's no deck in the game that works anywhere near Dark Worlds. Like I said, Heroes and Blackwings are all about attacking. Dark Worlds are completely different. There's no deck that discards and intentionally does things to do that. However, this deck is extremely hard for me to beat game 1. If I go up against Dark Worlds game 1, there's about a 60 to 70% chance I'm going to lose. Because I have too many cards that are designed to beat other decks that are in my main deck, that are useless against Dark Worlds. But, here's the big but. The reason why I have this deck on here is because when I side against Dark Worlds, it is over for you. When I side against Dark Worlds, there's almost no way they can win unless I just draw all of the cards I didn't need to draw. I have a lot of siding cards that randomly work against Dark Worlds. I didn't design my side deck to beat Dark Worlds. But when I look at my side deck, I realize even though I didn't design it, I randomly have a bunch of cards that I put in there for other decks that happen to beat Dark Worlds. And they're so easy to side against, especially with my deck. When I have Close Forest, Prohibition, I use Close Forest on the field spell, I use Prohibition on Grappa. There's nothing they're going to do. I use DD Crow on Grappa. I use a lot of other cards. I might even side in a Debunk if I ever decide to use that card. I know a lot of cards that beat this deck, and that's one of the reasons why Dark Worlds aren't that good against me. And that's basically it. It's all about the siding when it comes to Dark Worlds. Now, 6 Sams are a different story. Xian can be a problem, but if a 6 Samurai deck opens up with Gateway, and they open up with all these monsters that negate effects, spells, traps, I'm almost never going to win. But when they have a normal hand where they have to really work to win, where they just have Xian, it's target practice. Xian attacks DD Warrior Lady. Xian attacks Snowman Eater. Xian attacks Grave Squirmer. I summon Tour Guide. Run over Xian. There's nothing they can do that stops monster effects. You see, the thing is that my deck has more monsters effects than it has spells and traps. So if you can stop my spells and traps, that's fine. That's 40% of my deck, but you're not going to beat the 60% that's monster effects. And because I have so many monster effects that can kill Xian, that's one of the reasons why I can kill 6 Sams. And then their other monsters don't, except for Landois maybe, their other monsters can't really negate monster effects, so that's one of the reasons why 6 Sams are an easy matchup. Going on to Heretics. Now, I said that every deck that, okay, let me make this simple. Any deck that has 8 or more traps is considered a lot. I run 8 to 10 traps in most of my builds. Heretics don't like trap cards. They gotta play Royal Decree. I can get over Royal Decree with a breaker. Last format, this deck wasn't even that hard for me to beat. So this format, it's not even going to be that hard. I can destroy cards like you have never seen. You go into Gaia Thundercharger, I flip over Snowman Eater, kill your monster. I flip over DD Warrior Lady, kill your monster. I flip over Night Assailant, kill your monster. I summon Tour Guide, summon a Strong Mard, bring out Levier, bring DD Warrior Lady back, run over your monster, attack for game. I can make so many plays against Heretics that they can't really deal with, because they can't deal with all the traps. They can't deal with all the monster destruction. I can stop OTKs very easily with Interplanetary Purpley Thorny Dragon, aka ID. So that's why this deck is easy for me to beat. Now, Lightsworns, one of the better decks on here. I can beat Lightsworns fairly easily. I play against a very good Lightsworn player in Team Wave, and basically the reason why they're not that hard for me to beat is because Lightsworns need to get their effects off. I have Thunder King, which is not a good card against it, which is not a good card for their deck to play against. So if I have a Thunder King on the field, they're going to have to summon their monsters, worry about my spells and traps, and then they have a JD in their hand. I negate it with Thunder King. Thunder King kills the deck, Bullblader kills the deck, DD Warrior Lady kills the deck, trap cards kill the deck, and not only that, they're a deck that needs to kill you fast. My deck is a deck that does not die very easily. So it's very hard for a deck to actually just wipe my deck out with ease. It's extremely hard because I have so many cards that can kill your cards that you're going to lose something attacking me. And that's why Lightsworns aren't that good of a matchup against my deck, because they have to focus on so many different elements that stop their strategy. On top of that, they might get a bad mill anyways. So they might get a bad mill, and then against a deck that is kind of designed to beat a deck like that, Lightsworns don't really have a good matchup against me. Obviously, if they spam JD when I don't have a card to stop it, that's a different story. But for the most part, Lightsworns are not good against my deck. Gadgets, one of the easiest matchups if I go first. And there's still a pretty easy matchup if I go second, because I run a decent amount of traps. Gadgets, Thunder King, first turn. I have had gadget decks literally scoop against me because I summoned Thunder King first turn. They had 4 gadgets and a Monster Reborn. He literally scooped. He had nothing he could do. Gadgets can't get over Thunder King. I run 3 Thunder Kings. Gadgets don't like trap cards either. Gadgets use Ultimate Offerings, pay 500 life points, chain MST, pop that Ultimate Offerings. They can't get their effects off. I know how to stop their deck. I have Veilers to stop them. I have Maxis, and not only that, but their cards aren't necessarily that popish. I mean, I know they have Machina Fortress, but their cards don't necessarily pop. Popping decks are what kills my deck, and Gadgets are one of those decks that just tries to make a lot of cards like Shockmaster, and I can easily kill her with a couple of traps, maybe a Thunder King. So, because Gadgets have to minus themselves so much to get over my cards, is one of the reasons they're an easy matchup. I will end this note by talking about X-Sabres, one of the easier matchups. In the past, I didn't realize how easy my deck was against X-Sabres because, to be honest with you, I don't think there are that many duelists who can make this deck good, but I still think X-Sabres can be a tier 3 deck if you build it properly. This is not a bad deck. This is a deck that's a little outdated, but you can win with X-Sabres. One of their problems is, like I said, just like these other guys, X-Sabres don't have popping cards except for X-Sabre High Unit. And I almost never set that many traps anyways until my opponent goes Heavy Storm. So because of that, X-Sabres are always constantly trying to find a way to get over my cards. And on top of that, they're not that strong. So if they have a full Helm Knight, and let's say I have a Smashing Ground, I go Smashing Ground, pop the full Helm Knight, go for game. This card is supposed to basically sit on the field and wait to synchro into a stronger monster. And then when they synchro, I'm going to negate it with Thunder King. On top of that, they like to set a lot of back rolls. And I like to chain MST to everything. I set MST a lot because I chain it to when you activate your cards. I chain it to your end phase. So when you try to get your effects off, I'm just going to negate it. Or destroy it. Or stop you. And that's why X-Sabres can't do well against my deck. On top of that, they have a card, I can't remember, I think it was Dark Soul. You attack him, you add a card at the end of the turn, Thunder King negates that. So a lot of their plays are stopped by my effects that negate searches, my effects that destroy their boss monsters that are not supposed to be destroyed easily, because X-Sabres just try to make boss monsters that just basically sit and eat you out. And their basic monsters aren't that strong. And their boss monsters are strong, but they get killed by my spells and traps that they can't negate. So because of that, X-Sabres are an easy matchup. And that's basically it, guys. These are the decks that I consider the easiest for me to beat. This is not to say I can't lose to these decks. I used to lose to Lightsworns all the time until I figured out how to beat him. And by the way, except for Dark Rolls, all of these decks are easy for me to beat game 1. I mentioned that it's super easy for my deck to beat Dark Rolls game 2. That's the only reason Dark Rolls would be on here. So, that's all, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you. Please subscribe, rate, and comment, and have a nice day. Happy holidays, guys.